All right, how we doing, folks? Today is Monday, December 3rd, 2017. Rich Van Tassel with you, giving you our weekly NBA report, starting, of course, in the Eastern Conference. The Celtics still at the top at 20-4, plus 7.1 in their differential. Starting to give up a few more points than they have been. They're still well below the 100 mark at 97.4, but they no longer lead the league in that category. San Antonio is giving up 97.2. The Oklahoma City Thunder are giving up 99. Those are the only three teams in the league not giving up 100 points. Conversely, the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have now won 11 straight games, are giving up almost 109 points per game. They're only plus 2.6 in their differential, but they have won 11 straight games. You have Derrick Rose talks about his returns. He's always injured, so it's really a case where you don't even know with Derrick Rose. It's like you take what you can get from him when he plays. You look at the schedule, not the greatest. During this win streak, you play teams like the Nets, the Clippers, who are pretty poor, the Hornets twice, the Dallas Mavericks. You've also played the Memphis Grizzlies. They have some dissension we'll get into in a moment. So you take it for what it's worth. They're still waiting for Isaiah Thomas to come back. But 11 wins is 11 straight wins. So they're obviously in need of big win streaks like this to catch the Celtics. At this point, it's still early in the season, but remember, we're entering into the second quarter now, the second 20-game stretch, so we'd have to keep an eye on how they continue to roll and what happens when the schedule gets a little tougher as we approach Christmas and the new year. Toronto at 14-7. They've won 3 straight games. They are 7-3 in their last 10. They have a better differential than the Celtics do. They're giving up almost 104 points, but scoring almost 111. Led, of course, by DeMar DeRozan. Again, he's having another good season this year. He's a guy who, look, he kind of gets bogged down with the analytics and all that. He doesn't necessarily shoot the three, those sort of things. It kind of gives the impression that he's not really fits today in today's NBA. They got the win last night, of course, against the Pacers. He scored 26. He's a guy who continues to just put points up on the board. They really need him to carry this team. But, of course, to me, what the Toronto Raptors need is guys like Jonas Valanciunas, who only put up 13 last night. They need Kyle Lowry to be much more consistent in the playoffs. You look at DeRozan's line last night, 9 of 21 shooting, which is okay, but only shot one three-point shot and missed it. He gets to the line at times. But they need guys like Valanciunas, Serge Ibaka, guys off the bench, the Nolan Powells of the world, to really be any sort of serious contender. This team can only go so far with what they have. Philadelphia continues to play well. There was the Haka Simmons situation this week. Ben Simmons is really coming on. They're up 13-9. Milwaukee has won 3 straight. They're starting to play where I would have expected them to be. They're still in the minus in the differential. However, Detroit was at 4, by the way, so they're in the race, but they're starting to sputter just a bit. So you have those teams. Indiana 12-11. The Knicks starting to come back down at 11-11. Indiana's played really well. And then you start to really go down. Miami 11-12, Orlando 10-14. You look at Knicks and Miami. To me, are really the only teams that have much of a chance outside of the playoff picture as of right now to make any real noise. Then you get the bad teams. Charlotte and Brooklyn, though, improved at least. Well, Charlotte not improved, Brooklyn improved. Then, of course, you have the poor Atlanta Hawks and Chicago Bulls. Just 2 really bad teams. Now, moving forward to the Western Conference, Houston continues to light things up. They are 18-4 with the 1-game lead over the Golden State Warriors. They've won 7 straight. Both teams are plus 11.4. Houston giving up a little. Golden State at 18-6, by the way. Both teams giving up a little less points. Houston giving up a little less points. Obviously, Golden State scoring more points, but both plus 11.4. San Antonio, look, some way, somehow, they're still there. I was expecting more of a drop-off this year. LaMarcus Aldridge has definitely stepped his game up. You haven't had Kawhi Leonard at times. They lost last night to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They've had some injuries. You look guys like Kyle Anderson, Rudy Gay, who was brought in. He's day-to-day. Rudy Gay is a guy who can help score and those things, but I mean, you got to give Popovich his credit, but how long really can you expect this team to continue to keep it up? I just don't know at this point. I mean, Tony Parker, I figured he was done, but he continues to get the job done. Denver continues to stay strong at 13-9. Minnesota, nice to see them play well at 14-10, but these teams are giving up a lot of points. San Antonio is not. Portland is only giving up exactly 100, as well as the Utah Jazz, who have gotten themselves in it. Jazz have won 5 straight. Give them credit, of course, coming back without Gordon Hayward. Of course, Hayward is not playing at all with the Celtics because of the injury, but I was expecting the Jazz to really take a drop back. And they have, still been able to play well and be in the contention of things. You have guys like Rudy Gobert, so those are important. Then you have, of course, the New Orleans Pelicans, who still are able to stay in the race right now. They are 12-11. They have a game coming up against the Golden State Warriors. It'd be interesting to see what they can do in that game. Of course, you have Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins had a little brain lapse there. Cousins continues to put up the very good numbers, 25.6 points, 12.3 rebounds. Anthony Davis, who has been ruled out of this game against the Golden State Warriors, 25 points, 11 rebounds, and 1.7 blocks, so a little less in the blocks. That'd be an interesting game. You have the situation with New Orleans Pelicans being a team that really doesn't match the analytics, of course. The two big guys against a very analytical team in the Golden State Warriors. You don't have Anthony Davis. It would have been nice to see. That would be a big, testing stick for this team. Of course, I think Rajon Rondo has really helped. He's only putting up 6.3 points, but he's still just shy of 7 assists per game, and I think that's really allowing that team to help with the offense. But Rajon Rondo is not really necessarily a analytics guy either. He really can't shoot to save his life. So I'd like to keep an eye on that game, see what happens, and of course we won't really know much about it. I won't be reporting on it until next week. You have the Oklahoma City Thunder, 10-12 winners at 2 straight. Of course, we just said they beat the Spurs. Russell Wilson put up the triple-double. As we move into the second quarter of the season, that team has got to start to get it together. We've discussed many times the dynamic of the offensive players on that team. We'll have to just continue to watch and see. The defense has stepped up, but I believe Paul George is still the guy leading the way in points with that team. He's putting up 20.6. Russell Westbrook may have taken that spot, but you have the scorers, ball-dominant guys, but I think it can be figured out. It is not impossible for these guys to play well. No, Russell Wilson has probably said that at times. Russell Westbrook has moved into the leading scorer position at 22 for this team. It's really, it's going to be tough for the Oklahoma City Thunder because you got to get these guys involved and then bring along the Adams and all that. Carmelo just shy of 19 points. So just keep an eye on it. I expect them to get it together, and then towards the end of the season, integrate everyone else, the offense, the Steven Adams and the other guys. The Clippers 8-14, Lakers disappointing 8-15. A lot of things with Lonzo Ball. They've lost 5 straight. You got to keep an eye on how bad that situation could get. Phoenix 8-16, the Grizzlies in free fall. They've lost 11 straight, fired their coach. Just really, I don't know what happened. This team is still, if this team wanted to, they could definitely be in the playoffs, even in the West. Maybe they're tanking. We'll have to see at this point, but it's just gotten out of hand. You hired Fizdale, and then you fire him the next year, so I don't know. And then Sacramento 7-16, and Dallas 6-17. As bad as those teams are, at least they're playing better than Chicago and Atlanta in the Eastern Conference. Okay, power rankings, we will still keep the Celtics number 1. Cleveland has to be number 2 on the 11-game winning streak. Houston number 3. Golden State number 4. And I will give it to the Toronto Raptors number 5 at 14-7. Even though you have San Antonio in there as well. All right, remember, we appreciate all subscription, folks. That is your weekly NBA report. And be sure to stay tuned for the recap of the Monday night game when it goes final, either today or tomorrow morning. Be sure to stay tuned for that. And we appreciate all subscriptions, as we just said. So thank you all, and we'll catch you next time. Have a good one.